Good evening everybody, welcome back to the World Owl Trust. This evening we are going to be looking at one of a couple of sessions about owls and your garden, and I have got my young man Suggs with me this evening. He is tawny owl, and the reason he's here is because this is one of the owls that could well come down into your garden. We were going to do this outside, but the wind has got up a bit and he's not very happy about sitting out there, so I thought we'll just might as well bring him inside and we'll go with his preferences rather than mine. So hopefully he's just going to sit here quietly and not do anything dramatic. I'm going to keep my glove on for the session because if he does take off, he's got very sharp talons, whereas the others you can probably catch hold of without a glove, certainly not him. So, owls in your gardens. Owls are probably not a bird that you would think about coming into your garden, but they do, and particularly tawny owls. They live amongst us, and because they're nocturnal, you probably won't see them, you won't think about them. So tonight we're going to look at water, and water is probably more important for birds and your garden than food, because most birds can find their food elsewhere, but water can be quite scarce. So how to provide water for the birds. Now the owls, and tawny owls in particular, love a bath. This guy baths at all times of night, so to have some water down for him to come and have a bath would be brilliant. Now if you're providing water for him to come and have a bath, then it will be great for all your other garden birds, and you'll actually encourage more birds coming in to bathe in the morning. So you can do it really cheaply, inexpensively and simply with something as simple as this plant pot saucer. So this is the size that you could use for a tawny owl. Suggs has had one of these in his aviary. He has a proper bath, tawny owl bath, but he has bathed in this quite happily. So if you put this out, put it on the ground, fill it right to the top so he can have a really good bath in it, and just keep an eye on the water levels and also make sure it's cleaned out regularly. At this time of the year you will probably be able to tell whether he's been visited, purely because your water levels will be down, and depending what time, if you're an early bird yourself, you'll find the remnants of splashing around if it's on a concrete surface, and also feathers, because they are beginning to molt now, and they molt not just their big feathers but their really fluffy down feathers, and those are the ones that get left in the bath. So for something like a little owl, this size is absolutely perfect. They're quite happily have a bath in that, and to be fair, tawny owl will have a quick sort of dip, won't be able to get in completely, and again on the ground for the owls. So to ring the changes so you're encouraging your other birds, then I've got several of these smaller saucers and heavier duty saucer like this, which I use as bird baths. So you don't have to go out and buy expensive bird baths. With these ones, you can either have them on the ground, but make sure that the birds can see all around them because of predators, or pop them up a little bit higher on fence posts, fix them onto posts, fix them onto bricks and that kind of thing, just to get them off the ground. But think like a small bird, because they've got to be able to see all around and be able to dash back to a place of safety. So if you've got bushes, hedges, trees, whatever nearby, don't put it right underneath the trees because it'll fill up with rubbish, and also they won't be able to see a cat coming, but so that they can see round them, and then they can get back into their bushes. The other thing that of course it will provide for the insects, and with the case of little owls, if you've got a good wide variety of insects in your garden, as they eat a lot of insects, then if you're in little owl area, and that can be in the town as well as out in the countryside or in a village, if you've got good habitat around you, they will come as well. Your mammals, so these guys eat small mammals, so what you're doing is actually starting to create an ecosystem in your garden, which means that if you've put the water down for all of these guys, then you're going to actually get the mammals coming in, so now he's got something to eat, and so it carries on. The next step up is pond. Now, the in-between is you can use something like a washing up bowl. Really inexpensive to do. Sink it into the ground, water a few rocks and things in the bottom so the birds can stand in it. He probably won't get into a washing up bowl. It's a bit too constrictive for him. But you can then, you'll get your frogs and your tadpoles and lots of other things. Well, he's a frog eater. A little bowl like that is great to study. If you want to move on to something a little bit more adventurous, then why not think about a pond? You can get the fixed shape ones, which you can drop in and it's ready to go with the shelves in it. What we've done here is we've actually dug a pond so it fits into a space. It's not huge, but it means that I could work out that I've got the shelving of a beach so that the different sized birds can come in, and I know that the tawny owls will come in, and I know that the tawny owls are coming in because I'm finding his feathers in the morning and he's having a really good bath most evenings. And then it drops down again and down to a deep part, so you can have different plants in there like the lilies and the oxygenating plants, and these are quite easy to do. The most expensive liners are the butol liners, but we had some DPC that they use in building and doubled that up. It's relatively inexpensive compared to other liners, and it's hardy because it's used in building and it's there, it has bricks on it to stop the damp coming up. So you can design your hole and what levels you want in there, line it out with wads of old newspaper or carpet, so that means when the liner goes in and the pressure of water goes on it, it doesn't puncture the liner. And then you simply put your liner in, fill it up, then finish off your edges, and after about 2 or 3 weeks the water starts to balance, and then you can put your plants in and your gravelled areas and then sit and wait for the tawny owls to come down. The other part of putting a water feature in, it pumps. We've got a pump about £25 that pumps the water, so we've got a small waterfall that we put in, which is great because you're getting moving water. In 12 months our pond is full of all sorts of insects and wildlife now. It's full of tadpoles and froglets. I can't believe actually how quickly it's taken off. It's about 12 months since we did it, so it's so rewarding. And now we're seeing the evidence of the wildlife that's coming into the garden. I regularly see the tawny owls hunting across the back. We are completely organic in our garden. We don't put any pesticides down. We don't use any weed killers, because the weed killers you can buy Roundup and stuff like that, glyphosate, and although it says it's not harmful to bees, what it does do is it takes away their sense of direction. So once they've come across anything that has got Roundup or the equivalent on it, they then can't find their way home, so they starve to death, and also you'll have colony collapse. It's thought to be one of the reasons why we're having so many honeybee colonies collapsing, because of overuse of glyphosate. The other thing is pests in your garden. Pests, they're just part of the ecosystem. So slugs and snails. Slugs and snail pellets don't just kill slugs and snails. They will poison tawny owls and they will poison hedgehogs, because both of these species actually eat slugs. If you've got slugs and you've got a pond and you've got an environment that for the tawnies to come down, they will come down and they'll eat your slugs. I have very few slugs and snails in my garden, and I have a regular visitor from a tawny owl, and particularly with chicks, they quite often, when the weather's bad and nothing else is out and about, it's great slug time, so they'll come and take those and feed them to the young, and it sustains them through this horrible weather we've had just recently. Rodents. I've got wood mice here, which are lovely. They live in colonies, but again, they're kept under control by the predators. We did have a few rats that we saw a few weeks ago. but I know I've seen my local tawny owl, he's been hunting across the back, and so the rats have now, the population's been got back under control, so we haven't had to use any poisons. So just by putting in the water for them to encourage them to come down, and stopping using the chemicals, and introducing things like log piles and wildflowers, so you're bringing the pollinators in, you're creating a balance of biodiversity in your garden, so that you can encourage the big guys in, and if you're encouraging them in, then it means everything below them is doing well as well. Our bird count has gone through the roof with the number of garden birds. We've only been in this house for 2 years. In the last 2 years, I cannot believe all the different varieties, and it's been really rewarding with us changing the garden to this degree. So the tawnies are now feeding their chicks. The chicks are out branching. The tawnies are all around us. They are on the amber list, but we do see and hear them a lot in the towns. They've been pushed in, certainly around where I live, because we've had a lot of building expansion, and there hasn't been any mitigation for or consideration for these birds and other wildlife as well. So we've got a lot more corvids, crows and jackdaws in around us, and squirrels. But the tawny owl, he's quite happy to live amongst us if we are prepared to welcome him. And they are a wonderful asset, and there's nothing greater than listening to them calling in the evening. During the winter, my wild tawny owl comes down, he stamps across the top of my office here, and he'll fly up into the oak tree, which is over the top of the office, and I can stand and chat with him for a good 10-15 minutes. The male's not frightened at all. The female is slightly more worried and slightly more jittery, but not the male. They're not a huge bird. One step up. He's hungry, by the way, that's why we're having this. So they're not a huge bird, but they are absolutely stunning. They've got these beautiful, beautiful large eyes, very, very strong feet. So they can take, when they've got babies, they'll take a full-size rabbit or something of that size. They'll take corvids, so they'll take crows and magpies. So they do quite a lot of clearing up of bigger birds that are maybe getting, their populations are getting too big. So once they've got voraciously hungry chicks like they have at the moment, they will take bigger prey. It saves them having to keep coming out and doing lots and lots and lots of hunts for lots of smaller items. They've got very long legs. I don't know whether you can see. Can you see how long his legs are? He's got long legs, and this means that he can wade. So apart from a whole range of foods, they'll take some insects like the slugs we've been to, and beetles and bugs. When they're desperate, they'll go through the rodents and the mice. But the other thing about the pond is they will come in and they will take frogs, and they will quite happily wade in. If you are a fish lover, then it's good to have a pond with a deeper part in it so that they can't wade too far. They have been known to take fish. And I heard a lovely story, well, not if you're a fish owner, but a lovely story about a tawny owl. Was a gentleman who had a pond with a goldfish in it, several goldfish in it. There was one in particular, and he turned white. I mean, he'd been in this pond for 10-15 years, and he turned white. And the gentleman who owned the pond couldn't understand where this fish had suddenly disappeared to. It had been here, he'd seen it, it regularly came to the surface, and he hadn't seen it. And on further inspection of the pond, it definitely wasn't there. But he did have cameras at that end of the garden, so we went back through his videos, and sure enough, he found a tawny owl that had popped down for a bath one evening. Not a very bright fish had been visible, so he decided he would take a fish supper home for the children. So that was the end of the fish, but they will eat quite a wide variety. So basically, if you want to enhance your life a little bit and have something a bit more unusual, and nighttime birds, so you've got your garden being used 24/7 by birds, why not put something in to bring the tawny owls in? The little owls are more beetle and worm orientated, so you need to look at that, and maybe I'll do that in more detail another evening next week, because also we can look at pesticides and pesticides in the garden, because until I got involved with a local pesticide group, I didn't realise quite how many chemicals we as the general public use, and a lot of them are similar to those that are used by the farmers, yet we're not quite so regulated. So I'll do that alongside the wildflowers and the wilding of the gardens with the little owls next week. So that's really it. If you'd like to get involved with us and monitor any of your wild owls, please don't forget our app. We've now expanded its capabilities so that you are able to create your own database from it. It sends up all the information to the World Owl Trust, so that we've got an overview of everything, and we can have a look at where the owls are and how we can then start projects in your area which you can become involved in. But also we now have expanded it due to popular request, because so that people can actually then create their own database. And if you have a group of you working in the same area, which we hope people will get together and do that with our help, you will then be able to have a look at the patterns of the different owls. You'll also be able to monitor whether the frequency of owls in your area increases, and more importantly, whether they actually come down to your garden or to your communal grounds if you live in a flat. And then you know you're doing the right thing, and you can actually then enhance what you're doing and let us know, and we can help you enhance what you're doing, so that we get a good network of habitat for all these birds, and then try and connect them together. So the app is free with our membership, and we at the Trust have been very aware of affordability for memberships. Anybody anywhere in the world can join the Trust, and the app is now being rolled out to other countries. We're just working on finishing off our American version, looking at the Dutch version. So if we've got anybody who's watching this from overseas who would also like to get involved with our monitoring, please message us, and then we can arrange to make sure that the app is set up for the country that you're living in. Basically, it's if we need a translation, and also we have an owl ID library on the app, and we need to amend that for each country, so that when you register you get the right owls for your country. Our memberships are payable either monthly or quarterly or annually, and we are widening the scope of what our members are able to be involved in, because we want all our members to have a stake in the Trust and feel part of it, and be able to do the work for the owls, not just see what we have been doing as a Trust and just expecting you to support us, although we desperately need your support, particularly in these difficult times. So please come along, join us, go to our website, have a look at the website. We will be upgrading that hugely towards the end of the summer and into the autumn, including a members zone and lots of interactive stuff going on to there, so our members can get involved with us on more of a one-to-one basis, and also post up their stories and what they're doing, and we'll be having competitions and all that kind of stuff. So please consider joining us and joining in with the app. That we will also be doing regular updates and notes on everything that we do, and how to help you find the owls and monitor the owls. And then later on we'll also be looking at owl boxes, but that's something that I'll be doing in a few weeks' time. So owl boxes, sighting owl boxes, a type of owl boxes. So if anybody's interested in that, then please do join us then. Hope to see you again next week. Any questions or queries, please message me, and look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks. Bye bye.